Recently I was diagnosed with depression, which is kind of a bummer. But a man who's really affected my mental health recently, some of you may know about him. He can't stay off social media. Some would call kind of racist, and has had alleged affairs. His name starts with a D. It's my dad. And there's a lot of good stories I want to talk about my dad. One of the fun things I like to tell people about my dad is I grew up, I never got to see him drive. And the reason being, my dad acquired 3 DUIs, and if you don't know what it means when you acquire a DUI, it's a lot of money. So after your first DUI, you get 6 months, that's $10,000. After your second one, you get 3 years, that's $10,000. And after your third one, it's 10 years and $10,000. So we're up to $30,000. And I'm driving through my shitty town. This is years later in Millville, New Jersey. You can tell. And I see this little yellow blimp in the distance. And it's getting closer and closer and closer. And it's box shaped. And we're all aware of what cars are like in around the age of like the time of 2015, right? And it's a yellow Hummer. And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of dickhead has a yellow Hummer in 2015? And I roll up to the side of it. And the guy rolls down the window and I see the breathalyzer in the Hummer. It's my dad. And he's like, son, trying to fire it up? He rolls the wheels. And another fun fact about my father is he's banned in West Virginia. This is true. My dad owned a bar in West Virginia, which you heard anything about my dad so far, you think he'd just be a bartender at Applebee's. But he owned a bar in West Virginia. He got it borrowed money from very skeezy people, Italians. And he took this money and he couldn't pay it back, so Vinny and Tony came to beat up my dad with baseball bats. This is absolutely true. I was there the weekend before. And my dad took out a shotgun and shot one of the men in the kneecap. So these 2 sweaty meatballs of men had to run away because one was shot. And this old-timey cop comes up. He's very fat. He's a big man. He comes up and he says, "Boy, you got 2 options. One, I'm going to take you to the local jail. And those 2 Italian men are going to kill you. Or 2, you pick up your things and you never come back to West Virginia." So I haven't been back to West Virginia. I spent a lot of time beating up on my dad. And, as someone who used to get beat up by my dad, it's kind of fun. And the one thing that me and my dad have a lot in common, one of the things that really bothers me, is that we're born on the same day and the same conversation happens every year. He goes, "What are the odds that we're born on the same day?" And I have to tell him every year, "Dad, it's 1 out of 365. We can do the math." Why am I a psychology major? I'm done my fucking math. Why am I done at math? Oh, man. Another thing about my father, he has the biggest fine ever in South New Jersey. He's a hunter, if you couldn't get that already. So my dad got a $10,000 fine, which he hangs up on his wall next to his NASCAR little cars and Bobby Labonte and I don't know, Jeff Gordon, is that a guy?
That's a guy.
Yeah, that's a guy, okay. And what my dad did, he hit a deer in a nature conservatory, which you can't do. Apparently, I don't know, I went hunting one time with my father, and I was really fat when I was a kid, and I just was so miserable. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? I'm cold, I'm eating Snickers, I've got 10 Snickers in my in my pocket. I have 20 pockets. I never had so many pockets in my life. And so my dad hit this deer, and he was like, well, of course I'm going to take it home. So he broke down the deer from the antlers. I don't know how you break down a deer, but I think you start from the antlers, you work your way down, and he illegally distributed. That's the fine. He illegally distributed deer meat, which I did not know you could do. He was the El Chapo of deer meat. And I couldn't appreciate him enough. Guys, thank you so much. I love talking shit on my dad because it's a lot of fun.